Hello and welcome to Play with Power Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things CEDH, EDH, and Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, Ashani, aka Jamaican Dude, and today we have a superb, awesome, absolutely stunning guest with me today, and also Playmax 3 champion, Alex Accepted, the newly crowned Kenris King. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well tonight. Just ate some Alfredo. It's been so far a good night.
Alfredo. Okay. That's great. Nothing else. No garlic bread. No nothing. So,
I mean, it's chicken Alfredo. Like, I didn't make any garlic bread. I could have made garlic bread, but I didn't. Yes, Shani.
shame on you. Shame on you. Today we are going to talk about threat assessment. I believe with all the tournaments coming around and stuff like that, and people, I believe, wanted to be better players. Um, we should figure out what good threat assessment is. But before we go any further, I wanted to talk quickly about our sponsors. TC Rockets has one of the largest selection of toys, comics, and games in San Diego, with thousands of MTG cards being added to their online store every morning. You never know what deals you'll find at tcrocket.com. You can also keep up with your games, tuning in to their Twitch stream every Tuesday and Friday for live paper magic. Fuel up and check out TC Rockets today. Looking to pick up some fun CDH merch that also support our channel? Check out our store. We have a variety of clothing design and even Dragon Shield Play with Power logo sleeves. Check out the podcast description for more information. Our Patreon shout out this episode, Beyond the Machina. Hope you're having a splendid day or evening or whatever time you listen to this. So, threat assessment. Before we get started into the meaty part of this conversation, who are you, Alex Accepted, and why should we listen to you?
Well, you already introduced me.
I did.
Pretty much the major Kenrith pilot nowadays. I don't know of a lot of others. I play in more tournaments than the vast majority of people I know. Maybe less than Ian, but that's probably it. Yeah, just a tournament grinder at heart. I love it.
Tournament grinder with good results.
Yeah.
And as I said in the beginning, champion of the Playmax 3, so he took down a webcam tournament. So we're gonna assume that what he's saying. Oh, okay. Quick flex of the Playmax 3 champion. So we're gonna assume what he's saying is correct, and there should be something you should take away, and maybe I will take away from this episode. So, what is threat assessment? Break that down for our listeners.
Well, threat assessment is the steps you take to assess who is the threat and what is the threat at a table. For example, in every game of Magic, you'll sit down and see these are the players, these are the commanders. We're going to find out like who's the most likely to pop off in a game. So,
okay. So does the threat assessment at each table, we're going to say, varies, right?
absolutely.
And it all depends on what your deck is doing. So let's say you're the Kenrith player. What genre would you put Kenrith in? Mid range, Nas, stacks, like turbo?
Two of those four.
Two of those four, okay?
Mid-range and Nas. So my life total is important, and I can play the mid game better than most decks at the table.
So for you and for your deck, what would you be considered to you considered a threat at the table if you see something comes down?
Grafdigger's Cage.
It's a good
Grafdigger's
one.
Cage, Torpor Orb, stuff that pretty much stops my main win con, which is the Dockside Loop. Or players who are going to try to win prior to me even being a problem, me being a threat. So the Rog Siluses at the table, or faster decks that are less resilient, like Corvold. Those things are like decks that will just make me a non-factor in the game.
Okay, so decks that are faster than you and decks that
Run
is
specific hate pieces.
specific hit pieces, which we're seeing a lot more in the meta now because for the people who don't like, for the people who like to see others suffer at the table,
You last
that
night? Yeah.
whoa, wait,
You did
where?
that to me.
Mm. Uh, I don't know what he's talking about, guys, but he's talking about something that I did last night. And don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But yeah. So your deck don't want to have some hate pieces. More than likely, grave hate because your Nas Dark Side Image deck that uses its graveyard.
And
So
Breach.
whatever, yeah, and Underworld Breach. So whatever, those would be the things that you would consider a threat. How could you become better at threat assessment?
How could I become better, or how could one become
How
better?
could we? How could one become better? How could I become better?
Oh, that's harder. But how could everyone
Ha!
become better?
Yes.
Is not focusing on one threat at a table. It's really difficult to do because you'll see one thing that affects you and you want to get rid of it, but you're not seeing the other players who it affects, or the other threats at the table that are also affecting you but not as overtly. For example, like Grave Hate might destroy me on a fundamental level, but it's also stopping the other breach deck at the table. So it's the stacks problem where you have to remove stacks when you're trying to win most of the time. Like, that's pretty much what most people need to learn.
When to remove the stack piece?
Yeah.
So you said that that's a stacks problem. So are you
The stacks problem.
the stacks problem? So you believe that is why you don't really see a lot of so-called mid-range stacks deck in the top in the top part of the meta?
I would say it is, but stacks doesn't have a place in the top of the meta often because stacks has a trouble winning the game itself, and because other people poorly assess threats and remove stacks pieces at inopportune times.
Yeah.
It's a twofold issue that stacks is unfortunately going to get screwed by.
So maybe we need to tell the players how not to get screwed by it. Like, be patient, right? Yeah, I think that's what you're saying. Be patient with when you want to remove the stack piece, and if you can remove the stack piece and also defend your win attempt.
Mm-hmm.
So as what Alex was saying, I have been dabbling with some wrong Tevesh turbo stacks, and I've been having fun. I did not know that bringing misery to others was such joy to my heart. Um, uh, Alex did not. I like it. He wanted to kill me from the early turns, and some miraculous way I did not die. I
Through the
believe I
blind.
won that. Yes, I won that game at 2 life, and I think I won with the board state of Nether Void, Sire of Insanity, and I was going to go get a Void Widower.
And a ley line.
I had a Leyline of the Void, yes.
And,
And it
and a
was
damping sphere.
Oh my goodness. Okay, please stop. I am not that guy. But yes, as it was officially they conceded, and I'm like, ah, that felt great. Um,
I
but
think the time to remove you that game was 2 turns prior.
I was honking away. I was begging for a turn each
guys,
time.
guys, don't kill me. Guys, I'm not the threat. Wins the game. Oh,
But I wasn't the threat. I was correct.
yeah,
I
you were
before I died.
very second.
True, I wasn't the threat that very second. Exactly, because that's what happened. If the
If
blue
you were
farm
removed
player,
at the time, then Billy probably would have won.
yes, and that was the dilemma. The dilemma was I was keeping everyone in check, but at the same time, I was being a threat. So it was a very hard margin, and I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time with threat assessment.
I think that game had separate issues. Like you, that game was like, oh, this is like worse than all the stacks games. I've played into like Yasharn stacks, and I've never been like, is the Yasharn the problem? No, this one stacks piece is the problem. That pig ain't an issue.
Right.
You were an issue on top of your stacks.
Whoa. My car. It was another layer. It was my cars and then the player.
And
Oh
also,
my
Tevesh
goodness.
was at like 8 at that point, and I was like, oh god, no one's hitting the Tevesh, no one's hitting the Yashani. What the hell is happening right now?
Yeah, that's what happened. But yeah. So do you believe that threat assessment is a I think we said this is a necessary skill and
Absolutely
and
necessary skill,
absolutely okay. Why is that?
especially for tournament magic. Without it, you're probably just not going to place well at events. I'm gonna be honest. And if you don't play it in tournaments, you probably won't win as often as you should.
So if you just play the game Magic the Gathering that we all enjoy, you should sharpen your skill on threat assessment.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. For me, my take, I believe threat assessment should be the only way I believe you can get better at it is play more games. Play more games. Be be accepting to criticism. Not everything someone telling you might be correct, even in game. Like I have a tendency to say, if you make a mistake in game, don't try to tell me that I made a mistake in game. We can talk about it after the game because you can see how the game unfolds. Um, Not because you win the game mean you made the best decisions in the game.
That is
Uh,
very accurate.
yeah, like
I've
you
won
could say,
games where I've made bad decisions.
right. I'm like, you could say, oh, I did this and I won the game, so what I did was right. I mean, I can't argue with that logic because I can't tell it was wrong. I
Yes,
can
survivorship bias.
exactly right. So like, I can't tell you you're wrong because you won, but at the same time, it's hard to it's hard to help others learn threat assessment in a game. Unless you're in a very learning community and people who will not just flame you, like the right group of people is also how you can get better at threat assessment.
Yeah.
Uh well, what else? What else? What else is there? For knowing it comes down to so many things. Knowing what to remove, knowing when to counter something.
It's
Like
probably
it's so vast.
the most fluid skill that you need to have in a game of Magic because it's always changing. Like
Yes.
a wheel happens, this person's no longer the threat. The person that had revealed info, oh god, it's now maybe this deck or this deck. There's so many layers to it that it makes it the most difficult skill to have at times.
I agree. And then some people are just above average with it. You have there's where I like to say where some players mind control others, where their knowledge about the game is so vast they can help their opponents play the game while going under the radar that they're the threat.
I,
Like,
I know a person.
yeah, I know many persons. I know many people who does this. Um, Alex has that talent. His is more of a I will repeat what is on the board multiple times, and then you're like, oh yeah, I see that, but you're not seeing what else is there because he just like subconsciously it became
I
for
leave some
me
things out. I mean, shit happens.
exactly. It was like, hey, there is an ad nauseum on the stack here. We all see this, but we don't see your 5 open mana because we're now hyper focused.
Guys, there's a
Yeah,
Nas on the stack. Like, we
yeah,
need to deal with this shit. And then at that
yeah,
point, I pass priority.
yeah. So it's fair. I also have the problem of knowing when to counter something. That is, I think, my big thing for threat assessment. Because do you counter the Rhystic study? Yes or no?
Can I look at the game state before I answer that
Ah,
question?
see? That's the thing. You need a game state. There's a turn 1 Rhystic
Oh,
study.
turn one. Who's playing it?
See, who is playing it? That's another good question. So you see, there's so many questions to
If it's
it.
turn one, like the first player, yeah, I'm gonna try to if I have a force. Like they turn one, seat one, heuristic study. I'm gonna try to counter that shit. Maybe
Yeah.
player gets a heuristic study, and you're like, okay, that's not as bad. And you're
Yeah,
like, I have other threats that I'm gonna have to deal with on now turn two for someone.
it all,
It's
go
difficult.
ahead. It's very difficult. It also has to do with what decks you're playing. Um, it could be, say, I'm just doing this because I enjoy doing it. Let's say it's Sacred Guide. And the Sacred Guide resolved a turn 1 Rhystic study. And after, like, there could be position 2 or C2, and I'm like, yeah, I don't care if they draw cards. Like, what are they going to do?
They're
Open
gonna
console?
draw a
Like,
sacred guy. That's what they're gonna do.
sure, they're gonna draw magic cards. Like, I'm okay.
If
If
it's
Rogers,
the Rog Silas, dude, counter
yeah,
that shit
kill it, kill
45
it, kill it
times.
with fire. Like, kill it with fire. Like, I'm casting the force of will, the force of egg. Yeah,
I'm mind
but
breaking. I'm mind break trapping it because that's their third spell because they had to cast a Rog as well.
exactly. So I'm just saying, there's some decks where, and I could be wrong. I don't know if I correct with it. I will also not misstep fast battle.
I
Um,
misstep vaults. I don't misstep soul rings very often. Mana vault
I
just feels really good when you misstep it because it's like, oh yeah, you know that 3 mana ritual that you just put on the stack? No.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know when. I'm really trying to learn when to counter a like when to use a mental mishap. And I'm always for the thing of I use it as a protection piece because there's so many 1 mana counter spells. So I prefer to use it as a counter piece. Now there is some decks. So for me, mental mishap, I will counter some 1 drops. Winona, I will always counter the Soul Ring or the Manifold. Crick, I will do the same. I will. I don't care. Like that. They're whatever I'm playing.
The
They're
answer is
gonna be.
no, Crick.
Yeah, that says no to Crick and Winona. Uh, because I just think those 2 decks are normally just ridiculously faster than
And
me.
you always misstep the fish.
No, actually, I don't. See, I don't know if it's right.
Okay, so like this is one thing that I often see. If it's like turn one and I see a fish, I'm probably gonna misstep it, or I'm gonna be like, I pass, and then I want someone else to misstep it because I'm
Yeah,
an asshole. But
Well, no, that might be right because it's resources, right? Like the whole thing of Magic is whoever gets to use the least resources normally wins the game.
Or the one that accrued the most resources over the game with like a Rhystic study. They can use
Correct.
more resources because they have more resources.
Very true. Very true. But yeah, the misstep, I've been in that dilemma where when do you use the misstep? Do you counter the value engine, or do you wait until you counter the win condition? But the
So
value engine
you
could, yeah,
counter the consultation and not the fish.
yes, that is how I look at it. I look at it that I counter the consultation because the consultation is normally winning the game or finding the winning piece. Or you can just say, hey, I mean the top six. Like, or you call it the piece where the remora where they're gonna draw so many cards where they're gonna get to protect all of it. So what is correct and what is not correct? It's a learning process for me and
So if you're against a Rog Silas and somebody else played the fish, it's weird because you know that Rog Silas is going to play into it like 45 times because they don't give a shit. But you also want them to have interaction for the Rog Silas. So you're like in a
yeah.
spot where you're like, I don't want you to have that because if the Rog Silas doesn't win, you do.
Hmm.
But I want you to have that so the Rog Silas doesn't win.
It is a moving thing. So it's like when someone asks me, hey, how do you get better at threat assessment? I'm like,
It's
that's a
play
loaded
games and then
question.
think about them afterwards.
Yes, play games, think about them afterwards. Record your games. So
Oh, yeah.
if you're serious about it, record your games and have a friend who you share the same passion with. Go over the game. Maybe find someone who you believe is a better player than you. Help you evaluate the game. That's how we can get better as a community. I think for me, um, in the last, I want to say the last year. There's so much has happened this year that it feels like 2 years ago to me. Um, in this year, I think I've leveled up so much in Magic that is ridiculous, and it's mostly just because of joining, the so-called Dark Cabal or however you want to call the hatred, because
Oh,
it's just so
our Overwatch play group.
or whatever the game of the week is whatever the cabal is playing. It could be playing Overwatch, Slay the Spire. I swear, it's not a Magic community. It's just literally a bunch of
Oh, and
gaming
it's
nerds.
also a mental health just
Yes,
it's a mental health community as well. We all help each other that way too.
yes, that's very true. But just having like-minded people. Like when I first met Alex, he was playing. Oh my goodness, what was that abomination?
Uh oh,
Uh,
to 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 Icarus.
two Icarus, yes, that was one. And
That
then
was
you went to the Forever Partners,
oh yeah. I played Mike in 11.
Market 11, and that was a pile of cardboard.
It was
Um,
it was basically a Kenrith list with like 8 bad cards.
that was a lot.
Yeah, that's literally what the deck was. And then I was like, wait, should I just play Kenrith?
Yeah, you should have
Because
just played
because
cameras. Yeah,
it's like the same deck. The answer was yes.
I remember that transition. I think the coolest card and the card that was like, "What are you doing?" was some ultimatum. I don't remember what it was.
Ruinous ultimatum.
Yes, that was a. I don't even know what that card does, but
It removes all non-land permanents from that your opponents control.
there you go.
It
It
was very funny because I got it
it
off
was
11 or off a dark
yes.
side.
Oh, for dark side. Yeah,
It
it
was
was hilarious.
uh,
I don't know if I would use the word fun, but okay.
it was very fun for me the 2 times it happened.
Exactly. So for tournament magic, how do you prepare yourself?
Ooh. Like at the beginning of the tournament, if there are public deck lists, I look at the public deck lists. I go over it. I make basically a meta report if it's public. Now, not every person that with public like a public deck is this is their real deck. So some people are trolling. Most of the time it's not the case, but some people are trolling. Um After that, I will go over it with some friends. I will I will think about that and be like, do I make any changes prior to the event with the meta? Most of the time the answer is no, because it's a mid-range meta and I'm like, yeah, I'm good
Yeah,
at that. The other things that I will do is that the day of the tournament I will set my alarm an hour and a half before the player meeting, which is usually like 8:30 a.m. For me to wake up for a 10 a.m. Player meeting. I'll have a good breakfast. I'll have coffee. I'll pretty much prepare my morning so I'm not like rushing out of bed, because that is extremely important, that you're not panicked or anxious or anything. You need to be as calm as possible. You need to be in a space that where you're calm. You need to be in a space where you're comfortable.
mm,
Because if you're not comfortable, you're going to be playing worse than you should be. You're going to be thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about. Listen to
okay,
some music
okay.
or something, because uh, you need to be on your game.
That is good. I do none of those things, and maybe that's why I haven't won a tournament.
I
Uh,
mean, you top four a bunch.
listen, being a bridesmaid is not
It's not as good as being
getting.
a bride.
No, it's not. It's really not. Like you're like, oh, you top four, and like, oh, you just in the wayside, and everyone was like, but he won, and I'm like, okay, okay, it's okay. One day, I will get there
Yeah,
one day.
Gustav has won an event. What's the last event you won again?
None, actually, it doesn't exist. It
Shotty, how
doesn't
long have you been in the
exist.
community and I've won an event before you? That's
Whoa,
great.
whoa. Okay, so all right, since we're shooting shots here,
I'm kidding.
um, in my defense, in all the time I have been playing, I never truly played the so-called best deck in the format. And it was the first time at Chaos, whatever the number is, I have lost count.
75 and a half, that one.
There we go. I played Blue Farm, and I was like, okay,
It was
this is
Chaos
what Chaos 5, yeah. That was what this is how a good deck should feel. I've played decks from Malcolm, Roger Malcolm, to Get Wrong, to Hulk, to weird things. I never actually truthfully
But you
shuffle up the best deck.
you only named one bad deck there, and that's the Frog.
Oh, oh, that one is very dear to me. But
I know it's near and dear to your heart.
yes, I do. I
You
did.
and Kevin need to have like a long talk about why that you guys shouldn't play Frog anymore.
Ah, maybe we should. Maybe we should. But I can't let it go. But so definitely the calmness. I think I should definitely. I am such a. For me, I'm such an emotional person. I play with my heart on my sleeves, so I can get tilted at a drop of a hat, and I can just be the most hilarious person at a drop of a hat. So
Yeah.
being
So
calm is a good thing.
I, from my experience playing games that aren't Magic competitively, tilt is one of the things you need to like stray away from as much as possible.
Yeah,
Like I played Dota 2 a bunch. Like semi-competitively played 12,000 hours of the game. I was addicted. In any event, I tried not to first tilt, and if I was tilted, tilt my teammates in the game. So I would try not to at least make other people play worse.
right.
So that's a skill I've crafted over time. With a lot of
Nice.
Magic players, they're very just emotional players, especially
Yeah.
people who didn't play any like actual games before Magic. They just like get angry, and then you'll know they're angry, and then you know that you can play them as you can play the player rather than the game and win.
Yeah.
You can play to their emotions, be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. I'm not gonna do that to you." And then they're gonna be mad at that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna be mad at the wrong guy because he tilted him. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is true. I think I have got manipulated that way
look,
once or twice before, but
it
I've learned.
happens because tilting happens.
Exactly. So, there's a rule, guys. Don't get tilted. If you do, walk it off. Take a shower.
Walk it off, take a shower, take a long walk down the road, and then come back before your next round. Um,
Take a dookie. A dookie
eat
helps.
eat something.
Eat something. Yes. Yes. We do need to give our listeners something to take away from. I feel like we probably just bantered away
I mean,
for a
that's the
while.
most fun thing to do.
It is fun, but we need solid information for the community, Alex. There was some solid information there, and I really don't know. This is such a broad topic. I wish we could like
Which is why
focus it.
which is why when I was writing about it, I was thinking I was like, oh my god, this is so difficult to write about.
Yeah, it is. It really is like to see if you want to focus threat assessment. I think you need to break it down. You have to break it down to on the stack. I think is the first thing you would need to deal with. What is on the stack that you believe is a threat? And my rule of thumb, I don't know if Alex is different, but get his view. My rule of thumb is if it's not winning the game, I don't interact with it. That is my rule of thumb.
So my normal rule of thumb is if it wins the game or puts the game in an unwinnable state for me, I try to counter it.
Fair, fair. That's better
So
than I am.
I counter the nos because, like, even if they don't win, it's gonna make it so I can't win.
Sure. Well, the nose falls into I counter the nose, unless that they're at a low life total. But the nose falls into that category. I counter the nose. But there is things where I'm a graveyard deck and someone put a resting piece on the board. And I'm like, that sucks, but that's okay. We can play through that.
It depends what I have in my graveyard at that point, because the rest in peace trigger is
True, true.
gonna be worse than the rest in peace ability at that point. So if I have nothing in my bin or just fetch lands and maybe like a tutor, I don't care about it yet. It's not an issue for me yet. But if I have like a win con in there, I'm gonna try to make sure that it doesn't resolve. Like,
Right.
uh, if my dockside's in the bin, I'm like, oh god, this is a major issue that I need to deal with now or yesterday. Um,
Yeah, and that's how the threat assessment layers like it gets to another level because it's always changing. So I think the first step I think we should say is know what your deck is doing. Know what your game plan is, and after you know what your game plan is, figure out what what messes up, that is a terrible phrase, but I couldn't figure something on the fly. But what stops you from making your game plan progress? That is the second step. What in the world of EDH in that card pool stops you from playing the game? If that goes on the stack and you can interact with it, do it. If you can interact with it after it resolves, do it. It changes, as Alex said. Depends on his graveyard if there's a resting piece coming down. If he's gonna counter it or not. If he doesn't have anything in his graveyard that's worth anything for him, he'll let that go because it might affect another player. Um, That I think those are the first two important steps. Third step, you don't always have to remove the stack piece. You can play underneath it. Normally, removing the stack piece doesn't leaving the stack piece in play doesn't kill you. Normally, removing it and then your win attempt getting stopped, then the other person win. That kills you. I never know I would be saying these words. Um, you know, of
You
of
know
of
this.
part-
You know this too. So
I know this too, but at the same time, but I'm we of the same thread. Like we don't like stacks players. Like they should die. They should die a fiery death. And whatever they're saying to you in the game, never listen to them. That's also another step. Don't listen to them. The best players in this format are the best politicers.
yeah, Ian
They're
is
very good.
amazing at it.
Yes, he's absolutely great. I like to make it. I like to call it mind control because I think what it is. But the nicer term is politics. Some
So
people are just
I feel like some
hands down
players
better.
mind control more. I would say Gustav lands in that camp, and some players actually politic more. I would say Ian is slightly more politic and slightly less mind control than like a Gustav.
True. Mike is. I don't know where Mike falls.
Mike is somewhere smack dab in the middle.
Is he
Because
okay?
he's weird. He'll say things that like are wrong, and he knows,
Very wrong.
but he wants them to believe it's right, so he'll say
Mhm.
it anyways. Like
Yes.
you get the dockside here, knowing that the dockside is the wrong pick. Oh, look how much a dockside will make. That thing, like what? Like Mike, you know that there's a torpor orb out, right? Shut the.
Yep, that kind of thing. So I'm like, and it I believe is also a form of politics, right? But it's just like some people like, yo, that is just shady, and some people even get like genuinely upset about it. But
Well, this comes back to like the lying in EDH thing. Do
yes,
you lie? Sometimes I can't
casual
I can't
games,
I
no,
can't deal with this is a lie. I say that
yeah,
all the time. I can't deal with this. I'm lying like probably half the time. But guess what? I don't care about that lie. I think that's fine.
yeah. It was. I think there was
Well, it's
a.
sandbag at that point.
Yeah, no, it was there was a Twitter. I know. I think it was from Drake, where Drake was like, "Would you lie for a time twister?"
Yes.
And people are like, "No, my morals are higher than that." I think if there's a time twister on the line, I will lie to you, your mama, your papi. I will.
You lie to
I
your
will lie
mama
to.
though.
I will lie to my. Ooh, that might be a rough one, but I would. I would lie. I would lie because when there's price on the line, there's a completely different thing. In a casual game, if you guys enjoy that type of game, go for it. Uh, there's some lines that are like, oh, people like to say, oh, he sandbags. I don't think sandbag and line is on the same level.
Okay, do you
Um,
think me saying I can't deal with this is a lie or sandbagging?
I don't know.
I think it's
I don't.
both, and I'm
I
okay
think
with it being both.
I think it's. I'm okay with just calling it sandbagging. Because for me, I will say that in a game, in a casual game, I've never lied. I'm like, I'm that person. Yeah, I never lied. I know people lie, and I'm like, okay, because I know that is a option. I'm okay losing. I think that is also a thing players might want to learn. I
I
don't know if that is correct.
I
Should
think
you be okay losing?
in a game not in tournament, absolutely. Do whatever you want. Like if someone like If someone makes a bad play, make them lose for it. Put your hands on your head to be like, you're reaping the consequences for this.
But in a but let's say the tournament
You
play.
are always trying to win. Don't be like, oh well, I'm okay with losing here. No, you're trying to win. Be like civil afterwards. Don't like brick afterwards, but like be you're always trying to win. That is the goal. So
I I
okay.
disagree. Like I agree that you're always trying to win. You should win. Like that's the first aim of the game. The game you play the game because you're trying to win the game. But I believe that maybe you can get 5 points or 3 points from somewhere else. It doesn't have to be this pod. Sure, it'll go worse on my record, but it's okay.
So if you're shooting for top 16 or top 4 or winning, you need to go after wins aggressively, in my opinion. You have to be like,
Okay.
if you could lie to get there if you want, you could do whatever is necessary except cheating. Don't cheat. Bad.
No.
Do that.
Bad.
Legit vocals, bad. You could do anything up until cheating happens, you can do. Like you can lie, you can just talk people into doing bad things and play your deck. But
No, that is facts. You should
I
do
being okay with losing is like a really weird way to say it for me, because I'm okay, like I'm not going to be upset afterwards,
right.
but I don't in any way want to lose, so I'm not going to play as if losing was an option.
Okay. That's a good point. So your first step is you play not to lose. Then you figure out how to win after.
Kinda. I would say playing not to lose often leads you to losing, so I wouldn't exactly say that.
So how would you say it?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I would say you play to win, and then if that's not an option, you play to not lose. Because
Okay.
Then you're basically going for the draw at that point. But
right.
Play to win until you can no longer do that, and then you play to not lose, which is the draw.
Do you think a lot of Magic players or EDH players play to not lose?
Oh, absolutely. I've done that myself. Like, I was in a tournament where I was against Zane and Flashback, and I didn't cast a wheel that was in my hand because I thought that it was going to give them more resources than it gave me. And obviously, it would have literally gave them more resources than it gave me because that's how math works. But Zane won the game after I didn't wheel. If I just refilled my hand, I could have got counter magic. I could have put myself into a winning position just by playing differently. But instead, I was like, I don't want to lose, so I'm not going to cast this spell.
Right. So, the best offense is the best defense, is what we're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just win?
Just
winning
win
is... Okay, alrighty.
As my good friend Scoots always says, just win, forehead.
Great guy. Great. Always a blast to be around Scoots. But I don't know. Like I've played with a lot of people who they'll play every card known to man for them to not lose the game. And eventually the win will just fumble around into their hand. Cards like Stifle, cards like Angel's Grace, those cards, Trick Mind, those cards are not cards that you play to win the game.
Those are cards you play to not lose, and I play none of them for that reason.
Exactly. But I'm not saying there's also a lot of people in our community that also plays that way. They
So
play to not lose.
I have an example of them. Martin.
Okay. Mine's a good example.
Martin's a great example because he doesn't play that slowly. He just plays in a way that doesn't make him win. He plays in a way that will make the game last 2.5 hours because
But
he's
is
scared of other
playing
people.
but is playing for a draw incorrect in a tournament setting?
Yes, in
Oh,
a 5-point system, draws are effectively meaningful for tiebreakers and not much else.
okay.
Playing for the win is in all situations better.
Always, yes.
If you have to play for the draw, do it. But
But
always,
if that's your
always do
first,
the win
yeah,
first.
okay. Well, that is good. I've played enough. Like, there's people who built their decks to like, okay, this is my game plan. I am here to play for the draw, and then if maybe I win a game, and if the math works out, I'll get into the top 16.
Well, you're not playing for top 16. You're playing to win. Why
Hey,
would you? If
some
you're playing
people.
for top 16, then you're not. You shouldn't be playing in tournaments. That's my opinion. That if your goal is not first place, why are you playing? Unless you're
Small
just playing for fun.
achievements.
If you're playing for fun, do it. I don't give a shit. You're not the person I'm coming after. I'm coming after people who their goal is not the moon.
Well,
Like
I
you
think
think
you
for
make.
a person you hit top 16 and you're okay with it. That's cool.
Okay, okay.
If you're playing for top 16, that's just not that's obviously an attainable goal. Don't get me wrong, but so is first place.
So you're more of the shoot for the stars, land on the
Shoot for the
clouds
moon and
guy.
you might land in the stars. Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm not. I'm the person where maybe that's how my bird's made. I'm like, hey, let's try the top 16. Let's try to get there.
Well,
Let's try to make it to top because this game is so much variance.
it has
It's
a
so
lot
many
of
variants,
but
and I'm just
variance isn't the reason why there's players like Adam and players like you. That's skill. That's not variance.
uh, uh, yes. I don't know how to answer this, but okay,
That
yeah.
was a question. That was a statement.
Okay, that was a statement. Yes. Okay. This. Yes.
You have
I don't.
this year. You have a 47% win rate in tournament, and he has a 22. That's not variance. That's skill, Shani.
But at the same time, I just want to survive the Swiss. That
You
is
want to
my
survive
aim.
this? You, on average, will because you're good.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people like say. But I've played so many tournaments where, like, man, I just lose to dumb things. I just lose to it.
So losing to dumb things, yes, it will happen. Like,
Right.
I'm never gonna say like, oh, I'll never lose to that dumb shit. I've lost to dumb shit. But you need to play to the good decks, not to the piles that you see.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's I think for me is the thing. I was like, how do I beat the below average player?
You beat the below average player or the below average deck, because the below average player, you talk to them. The below average deck, you just play your game plan.
And the good cards should prevail.
Yeah.
This is what I've been learning.
It will prevail more often than not. It won't 100% of the time. There is no 100% in this format.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've been learning. As I was saying, this is where I've learned that mentality with just playing with people who share that, just like you and other people from the cabal or wherever we go. It's just people who can help your mental state of mind to like, hey, you're looking at it wrong, and it will up your game. Just join the community. That's my biggest thing. You guys can take away from this. Join a community that shares your views, whatever community that is. do it. If it's for Overwatch, if you want to play competitive Overwatch, join people who share that view. You want to if you want to go to all the tournaments and try to win them, join people who share those views. There's a community for everyone inside this community. If you don't like blue, join whatever color deck you want. Um, hey,
I
I'm not saying it's correct, but I, I was part of that group once. I despise blue.
yeah, you probably still do, but
I
play
do.
it you play it because it's good.
Ah,
um
so true,
So
so true.
I would say that yes, joining a community is correct. Not always joining one with that's completely like-minded. So I need people to challenge me because
True,
if I'm
very
not
true.
challenged on some things, I'm gonna make worse decisions more often. Like I need like a group that will be like, "Hey, have you thought of X instead?" And then maybe I haven't. Maybe I'll change my view. Like for example, I was talking to some players about Kenrith, and they were like, "So why are you on Zerda instead of Kinnan? Kinnan just is better here, isn't it?" And I'm sitting there like, "Is it? It is. Am I stupid? No, I'm not stupid. I was focused.
Just different, yeah, focus, yeah,
Focused on one aspect of that card, and I didn't think of the aspects of instead Kinnan."
agreed. So, like-minded community, but people who are willing to challenge you.
Oh
I
yeah.
think there is calm in chaos. Also, for threat assessment reason, play people who are better than you. Even even if you hate losing, but you're like hyper competitive or super competitive, you have to lose first so you can start winning. I think that's for whatever you want to do in life. You have to fail before you can be successful at it. And yeah, go ahead.
I would generally agree with that. Yeah. Playing with better players has made me a better player. And
Yeah,
that is honestly one of my favorite things about this year. Because I was playing with just average players and I was not improving at the rate I probably should. And then I started playing with, well, you, Mikey, Zane, people like that. And you guys were better players than me then and still are now. I'm catching up way more quickly than I was back then, but
yes, yes, agreed.
like there's so many players that I would have never even been near in like win percentage if I didn't start playing with you guys. I would have
Yeah,
never won a tournament if I didn't start playing with better players.
yeah, that is very true. Iron sharpens iron, and this is not really, we can play casual. Like first thing going into any in person tournament, like if you're going there to hang with the friends, hang with the boys, whatever it is, just go hang, eat food with a group of people. That's fun.
Oh God,
Absolutely,
I
hands down,
Moe's.
great. Yes, mostly great. Like has done great moments. Like, but at the same time, you can go there to and win, and even also a thing that I've enjoyed is when one person win is like eight other people who is also celebrating with you because you all put that same amount of effort because he was part of that team that helped me get here. So it's like a victory for the group kind of thing, and that's also a cool thing.
Like when Chris top forward or Mike won, it felt like
All of us, yeah,
all of us were excited about that. We were all like, finally, this is what we deserve. This shows how much effort we put in.
that is very true. And we're maybe sound like we're all tuned in the whole, horn of the cabal people, but that's just
They're my friends. They're my playgroup.
yeah,
They are the
yeah,
testing community that where I reside. Why would I not shout out these amazing people?
true, very true. But there's also another amazing groups out there. I don't know
And I'm
them.
not
That
in.
doesn't mean they're not.
I'm not
Yeah,
in.
I'm not in them.
So
But
I
there's
don't know how to speak about them. I'm sure
Yes,
that I'm sure that Spleenface was excited when Sick Robot won. That
right.
makes sense because they're in the same group. They're friends. That's great. So that's a good example, I guess.
Yeah,
Or
there we
all
go.
of Playing
Great,
with
great
Power
example.
when Mike won.
Yeah, great example. See, it's a community inside of a community, and we all need to be winners at the end of the day. Closing thoughts, Alex.
Um, well, we all need to improve at threat assessment, so please, at least, I know we didn't talk about the entire show, but
No,
please,
we did not.
please think about the things that we talked about and try to improve on these skills when you're inside of games.
Okay, all right. Um, where can people find you if they wish to have a discussion with you?
Twitter and Discord. That's it. At accepted MTG on Twitter and uh, at accepted hashtag 0666 on Discord.
All the sixes, I see.
Oh yeah, 3 of them.
Okay, you did it. You did it. Um, for myself, go to by the time this comes out, the Mox Masters 3 might be around the corner. Definitely because Mox Masters 2 will be this weekend. You won't that won't matter.
I'm
But
looking.
yeah, so hey, maybe you will listen to this and prepare for the next tournament. Um a big thanks to our sponsors, TC Rockets. Make sure you give us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast aggregator. You'll be surprised how much it helps. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and more. All links are in the episode notes. Well, that wraps up this episode of the podcast. Tune in next time as we talk more about our favorite format in our favorite game, Magic the Gathering. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Toodles!